Before we dive into tonight's tale, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It keeps the heart warm and the stories flowing. And hey, tell us in the comments where you are watching from. What time is it by your fire, bed, and glowing screen? I read every story, even the ones told in emojis. Imagine sleeping without phones, pings, or a fluorescent alarm clock screaming at you like a caffeinated banshee. Imagine sleep the way Matilda had it, our 23-year-old heroine with cracked hands, a soot-smudged face, and no concept of personal space. There are no mattress ads, no bedtime apps, just a pile of straw that sometimes bites back and a wool blanket that smells like five winters and a goat. We're curling up tonight with Matilda, her snoring Uncle Jorn, baby Otto, who kicks in his sleep, and a collection of fleas so loyal they'd qualify as emotional support animals. They're not rich or royal, but they sleep like it's an Olympic sport. You see, Matilda doesn't have a bedtime routine. She has exhaustion, the kind that seeps into your bones and hums through your back muscles like a lullaby from the earth itself. She sleeps beside the fire, under a ceiling that leaks philosophical raindrops, like, why are we wet if it's not raining? And if she wakes up at midnight, it's not anxiety. It's the fire dying, her sister whispering about the stars, and the kind of silence that holds you rather than haunts you. So dim the lights, fluff that 21st century pillow, and prepare to envy a girl with no toothpaste and a dirt floor. Because tonight, you're sleeping with Matilda. And honestly, you might never want your bed again. Don't forget to subscribe for tomorrow's story when we journey somewhere colder, darker, and even more suspiciously damp. Sleep tight. So you've met Matilda, our muddy, mosquito-bitten medieval friend, and you thought your bed was uncomfortable? Sweetheart, Matilda would trade her left foot for your lumpy memory. Now let's follow her as she wakes up, or rather, he gets nudged awake by a rooster who didn't get the memo about Subiu. The cottage is still dark, but not the peaceful kind of dark. It's the kind where shadows wear coats and the walls creak like they're plotting something. Matilda blinks once. Twilichin gives up on pretending she can go back to sleep. Not because she didn't, because her bladder, her back, and Brunhilde's foot and her ribs all voted no. She peels her off the straw like a human waffle. Her tunic clings to her with yesterday's sweat, bread dough, and dignity, which she misplaced sometime last harvest. The air is freezing, and her breath fogs as she swings her legs over the side. Brunhilde's generously called bed. It's not. It's a wooden slab with hay, moss, and stowaway beetles, but it's home. Yesterday, softly, I was hugging the family goat like it was a plush toy. Their mother Hilda mumbles in her sleep, probably dreaming of wheat that isn't infested. Uncle Jorn rolls over and lets out a sound that can be described as musical flatulence. Matilda sighs. Her kingdom, such it is, has awakened. First order of business, the Chamberites. It's in the corner, cold, full, fragrant in the worst way. She tiptoes over, her bare, fist-in-this-pairing curses as they kiss the frozen dirt floor. The pot is made of wood and trauma. She does her business like a medieval ninja, then slides open the wooden shutter by the hearth. Not a window, let's get fancy. It's just a hole with a scrap of goat hides nailed to it. She chucks the contents out with the precision of a woman who's done this daily. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks, a miserable dog. Then, the fire. Or rather, the pile of half-dead embers sulculates the hearth. She pokes at it with a charred stick, hoping to summon flame from ash like a pyromantic squirrel, if the fire does freeze. And everyone includes the fleas, which, say what you want, do add warmth. She throws on a piece of peat, whispers a prayer to Saint Bridget, or maybe mutters please, and watches as the orange glow stirs, slowly licking the shadows away. With fire comes light. With light comes dread. Because it's time to start the day. Matilda dresses in the same tunic she slept in because it's her only tunic. The wool itches. The seams are uneven. It smells like smogy onions and despair. Her underlayer, if you can call it that, is a ragged strip of linen tied like a sad toga. Underwear, unlikely its port? Not, but it covers the basics. Barely. She pulls on her shoes. It's made of leather, but it used to be leather before time, moisture, and the family pig did their work. One soul is held on by sheer optimism. The other is already plotting its escape. She trudges outside, greeted by air that could slice bread and a sky resembling someone smudged it with charcoal. Outside, the world smells like wet straw and horse breath. And breakfast? Oh, you sweet summer child. Breakfast is not a reward, it's a necessity, and it begins with bread so dense it could double as a bludgeon. Matilda joins her sister Brunhilde by the cooking pot. This ancient cauldron is home to pottage, a substance that defies definition. Part stew, part porridge, all horror. It's been simmering for days, possibly weeks. Ingredients are added as found, never removed. Yesterday's turnip, it's still in there. Tuesday's onion, unconfirmed but present. Last week's mystery green thing, also alive. They ladle it into wooden bowls, which smell suspiciously of mold and last see its soup. Matilda tears off a piece of black bread. It crumbles with the grace of drywall. Yesterday's hotfully, like a woman Tuesday's knee, this isn't her 203rd bowl of root week. Brunhilde sprinkles in some salt, an extravagant gesture, considering salt is stored like gold. Otto gulps his seasons the ale. Yes, ale. At 6 in the morning, because the water will kill you faster. When the meal ends, no one sighs in satisfaction. They aren't in survival. Dishes are wiped clean with yesterday's crust. No soap, no sponge. It's just a hope that the fire's heat kills whatever lived in the bowl before breakfast. Then comes the work. And if you thought waking up was bad, buckle in. Matilda grabs her woven basket, throws a shawl over her head, and steps into the field. Not a picture say yesterday's. This one's half flooded, half frozen, and fully fired by your presence. Her job? Pulling weeds, planting beets, gathering firewood, and herding chickens that actively hate her. And hauling water from a faraway stream could qualify as a pilgrimage. Her hands are numb and her knuckles are cracked, her ones bent like a question mark. She toils until the sun gives up and hides, until her breath steams with effort, until Brunhilde calls her back with a voice hoarse from yelling at a goat that keeps climbing the thatch roof again. The goat wins. Always. They return home at dusk, not a golden hour, Instagrammable dusk. The kind of dusk where the wind bites and your soul whimpers. The fire has dimmed. The pottage is reheated. The bread is somehow harder. They eat in silence, interrupted only by the occasional curse as someone steps on a sharp piece of straw. Then they lay down again, in the same itchy heap, under the same blanket that could legally qualify as armor. Matilda curls up next to Otto. Hilda hums a tune from her youth. Uncle Jorn snores like a dying accordion. The room fills with breath, warmth, and sleepiness earned not by lavender-scented pillow spray, but by sheer brutal existence. And just before sleep drags her under, Matilda thinks, at least it didn't rain in the soup today, because sometimes survival is a victory, and sometimes a dry bowl of boiled sadness is the closest thing to joy you'll get. You'd think Matilda would fall asleep the moment her face hit the straw after a day like that. And she does, sort of. It's less of a gentle drift and more like passing out after being clubbed with a sack of potatoes. Her body doesn't ask for permission. It demands a shutdown. 1 minute, she's staring at the soot-covered ceiling. The next, she's out cold, wrapped in the kind of exhaustion that only comes from hauling firewood, negotiating with psychotic goats, and eating boiled bark for dinner. But the sleep she gets, it's not like ours. It begins with stillness. Not the kind of silence you get from a well-insulated apartment. No. This silence has texture. It crackles slightly, thanks to the fire still whispering in the hearth. It's wrapped in breathing, layered, overlapping, human and animal. Someone's snoring. Someone else shifts and groans. That sounds like they've aged 10 years just by rolling over. Matilda, in her corner, curls into herself. Her feet are freezing. Her face is buried in the wool of the family blanket, which smells exactly like it did this morning. A mix of wet sheep, old bread, and desperation. And that's when it begins. First, sleep. She doesn't call it that, of course. To her, it's just sleep. But hundreds of years later, scientists will stumble across this phenomenon and give it a name. They'll write papers about it, claiming it's segmented sleep and biologically restorative. Matilda would laugh if she weren't asleep, because this isn't science, it's survival. It's what happens when you're so tired, so brutally drained, that your body turns off. No dreams, no tossing. No, wait, did I send that message? Just blackness. Heavy, honest. She doesn't wake to an alarm, she wakes to cold. It creeps in like a nosy aunt, slipping beneath the blanket and whispering, "Hey, you forgot to stoke the fire." The hearth is barely alive now, glowing, not burning. She stirs. Brunhilde's already sitting up, hair wild, eyes half shut. She mutters something about the stars being bright tonight. Matilda rubs her eyes. Otto groans. The goat sneezes. This is the pause, the ancient intermission. Modern folks call it insomnia or search their phones to scroll through doom and dog memes. But here, it's just part of the rhythm. You wake, you stretch, you may say a prayer, you definitely check on the fire, and sometimes, you sit there in the dark, letting the cold press into your bones, letting your thoughts drift like smoke toward the roof. Matilda does precisely that. She stands, careful not to step on Uncle Jorn, who's drooling into a sack of potatoes. The floor is cold. Her breath fogs as she crouches by the hearth and adds a stick. No rush, no stress, just routine. The embers hiss in gratitude. She warms her hands, then her feet. The warmth spreads slowly, kissing her knuckles and loosening the tightness in her shoulders. She looks over. Brunhilde's lying down again, murmuring a soft prayer to St. Margaret, patron of childbirth, and apparently blistered heels. Outside, the wind also groans against the shutters like it had a rough day. Matilda whispers, not to anyone in particular, just to the dark, a mix of wishes and nothingness. She hopes Simon, the merchant's son, stops coughing. She prays the rats don't eat the bread. She asks, half joking, that tomorrow's goat chasing ends in victory, not bruises. Then, without fanfare, she lies down again. Second, sleep creeps in like a warm animal. No repositioning, no fluffing the moss. She folds into the space she left behind, body shaped and ready. This time, the dreams come. Not detailed plots, not visions of grandeur, just flashes. Firelight on bread, the river in summer, a dog barking 3 houses down. A half memory of her mother singing when she was little before her voice grew hoarse from yelling at pigs. She dreams of warmth. Meanwhile, the room sleeps as a unit. They are not exactly in sync, but they are close. There's a rhythm here, the kind that's primal, older than electricity, older than mattresses, the type of sleep that wraps around you because you're never really alone. You can feel the breath of your sister, the twitch of Otto's feet, even the goat's occasional alarming grunt. The world outside doesn't exist. There are no sirens, no emails, no alerts vibrating on a nightstand, just moonlight trickling in through the cracks in the wall, just the slow rise and fall of shared breathing, just the smell of ash, wool, and humanity. And here's the strange part. It's peaceful. Not in the way that meditation apps pretend to be. This is real peace. Earned peace. The kind you don't realize you miss until you're neck deep in LED lighting and sleep dead. No melatonin gummies. There are no weighted blanket reviews. Just sleep. Real, raw, honest-to-God rest. And sure, her legs hurt. Her back is wrecked. Her hair smells like someone cooked onions over a funeral pyre. But she's asleep, deeply, securely. Not because the conditions are perfect, but because she's emptied. Nothing left in the tank. There is nothing to worry about that she hasn't already faced under the sun and mud. The house doesn't hum, it creaks, it exhales. Now a humble glow, the fire keeps vigil like an old friend who never learned to speak. No alarms will wake her. No meetings, no plans, just dawn. When it arrives, it won't be bright and cheerful. It'll sneak in. A blush of light on the wall, a hint of gold on Brunhilde's cheek, the sound of a chicken realizing it's alive and announcing it to the world. Matilda won't sit up right away. She'll squint, stretch. I know she's still got a splinter in her heel from 2 days ago. But her first thought won't be dread. It'll be something closer to, well, we didn't freeze. That's nice. She'll rise slowly, carefully, and begin again. Not because she's motivated, not because she's blessed, but because that's life. And in her world, life doesn't ask. It just is. So the next time you're flopping around at 2 a.m., upset that your silk sheets are too warm or your dog is hogging the bed, think of Matilda. Think of her curled in rags, surrounded by breath, soot, and survival. Think of that moment between first and second sleep, when the world pauses and you realize that maybe rest doesn't need a routine. Perhaps it just needs to be earned. And then, maybe, just maybe, you'll fall asleep like she does, like someone who's done enough and knows it. Morning doesn't explode into Matilda's world. It seeps in, softly, reluctantly, like even the sun's unsure whether it wants to do this again. There's no rise and shine in her vocabulary, just rise. Shine is a luxury she's never met. The first thing she feels isn't warmth or hope, pain. Dull, familiar, everywhere pain. Her fingers ache, her knees pop. Her lower back delivers a sharp, passive-aggressive reminder that hauling water isn't a hobby, it's a sentence. And yet she blinks. She breathes. She wakes. Otto stirs beside her, making a noise between a yawn and a frog falling into a bucket. Brunhilde groans. Uncle Jorn scratches something that shouldn't be scratched in public. Matilda stays still for a moment longer, absorbing the last fragments of sleep like embers in ash. The sky is still gray. Not the dramatic storm cloud gray that poets love, just a tired, overcooked porridge kind of gray. The fire is nearly out again. The smell of yesterday still lingers. Smoke, wool, cooked root vegetables, and the faint hint of goat pee. She sits up, slowly, carefully, like a woman older than her years, which, in medieval times, she is. She pulls her tunic down over her knees and swings her legs over the edge of the straw pile. Her feet land on the dirt floor with a soft thud. It's not cold anymore, just damp, which somehow feels worse. Damp has ambition. It wants to crawl up your spine and into your soul. She stands and stretches, and the cracking sounds from her joints echo like tiny bones clapping. The day begins. Again. She doesn't brush her teeth. There's no toothbrush, no minty rinse, no influencer-approved tongue scraper. She chews a twig. That's it. Sometimes they burn the end to make it softer if they're feeling fancy. Mostly they don't. She doesn't bathe. Not now. That's an evening event. The idea is to collect grime throughout the day, like a medieval sticker book of misery, and then wash it off, ideally without losing too much skin. Instead, she begins with the animals. The family goat, whom Matilda suspects has a personal vendetta against her, needs feeding. The chickens scatter around like tiny feathered anarchists. One of them, she swears, plots her downfall every morning. And the pig, grunts at her with the smugness of a creature that knows it won't be bacon this winter. She hauls the slop, tosses it into the trough, and nearly loses a toe in the stampede. Then it's water. Always water. 2 buckets. 1 girl. It is also a walk that could qualify as medieval CrossFit, minus the leggings and post-workout smoothie. The path to the stream is muddy, rutted, and possibly cursed. She slips twice, curses once, and spills only a little. Progress. Once home, the water's split. Some for cooking, some for drinking, some for washing. A term that means splashing and praying. Then it's on to bread. I'm not baking it. No one in the house bakes fresh. They make survival bricks. This morning, it's Brunhilde's turn to knead. Her wrists already look like they've been through 3 wars and a poorly supervised arm wrestling match. Matilda's job? Firewood. She grabs a woven basket, already half broken and smelling like mildew, and heads into the woods. She's alone now. Just her, the trees, and the sneaky kind of quiet that makes you feel like something's watching. It usually isn't, but the silence still buzzes. She looks for dry branches, small logs, anything that will burn without releasing a biblical stench. It's not easy. Everything's wet. Everything's stubborn. She curses under her breath. She sings a bit. She mutters about goats. And then she finds it. A half-rotted stump that will do. She wedges her fingers underneath, lifts with her back, because no one's ever taught her better, and drags it home like a triumphant mule. She arrives just in time for midday mush. The pottage again. Always pottage. It greets her like a bad ex. Still warm, still disappointing, still full of things she didn't ask for. Someone's added onions, or at least what used to be onions. She eats in silence, chewing slowly, not out of mindfulness, but because the bread requires negotiation. Otto tries to talk. Matilda shushes him with a look. It's not personal, it's exhaustion with eyebrows. Then it's back to the field. The family doesn't own this land. They work it like all peasants do. Like all peasants must. If they don't, they starve. It's that simple. She joins her father Eldrick, already knee-deep in frozen soil and vague despair. They plant, dig, weed, chop, over and over. No breaks. No you've earned it water bottles, just motion. Endless, repetitive, back-breaking motion. The kind that makes you forget what month it is, what your fingers used to feel like, what laughter sounds like. Matilda stabs her spade into the dirt, again and again. Her arms are jelly, her spine is humming a funeral dirge, but she keeps going because there is no stop button, because no one's coming to save her. Because surviving isn't about winning, it's about not dying. At one point, she sees Simon, the merchant's boy. He's coughing again, hard, red-faced, bent over. His mother pulls him away, muttering a prayer. Brunhilde watches, worried. Matilda stares. That kind of cough, it's not I ate something funny territory. It's the other kind, the kind that spreads. By the time the sun starts to die behind the hills, Matilda has stopped thinking. Her body is on autopilot. Just get home. Just get home. She stumbles once, almost falls. She laughs because the absurdity is all she has left. The stars begin to bloom overhead like silent witnesses. Back at the cottage, the fire is revived. Barely. Supper is more of the same. The stew has thickened into something resembling regret. No one speaks. They eat. They breathe. They survive. Then comes the best part of the day. Stopping. Matilda peels off her cloak, crawls into her corner. She pulls the heavy blanket over her head. The smell is still there. Smoke, sweat, possibly turnips. But it doesn't matter. Her muscles sigh. Her breath slows. And again she falls. Not gently, not sweetly, but completely into that old, bottomless, bone-deep thing called rest. Because rest in her world isn't self-care, it's the only thing left. There is out again. Not completely, just smoldering. Like it's exhausted too, doing its best the wa. Lit Matilda's it was given. Matilda lies beneath the family blanket, eyes open just enough to watch the last ember wouldn't a dying star. Her legs throb, her arms are lead, but her mind, quiet, empty, in the best way. She's not thinking about tomorrow. Not because she's enlightened or spiritual or has mastered some life hack. She's not that about tomorrow because she doesn't own it. Not really. The idea of future is laughably abstract. She doesn't plan or prepare for it, not the way we do. There are no planners, goal-setting journals, apps with pastel colors, or checkboxes that productivity. Tomorrow is just another reshuffled, a familiar set of hardships with different mud. That's not apathy. That's when you don't control land, you don't see control time. The future becomes a ghost when every hour is dentated by thioester, the soil, the livestock, and a dozen other forces you can't argue with. Something distant, barely touchable. And Matilda, she's not trying to touch it, she's just trying to survive it. There's no bedtime anxiety, no spiral that sots at 2. That's reliving that Octont conversation from the Dantiques ago. If she hesitates before sleep, it's not because of existential dread. It's because her shoulder is stuck in Brunhilde's elbow and someone, probably Otto, farted under the blanket. In her world, the second is a luxury. Matilda, she isn't sitting there wondering if she has said more to Eldrick at dinner or if she offended Brunhilde by accidentally feeding the last apple to the goat. There was no dinner conversation to overanalyze, no social dine, it's to decode. There was a half-burnt Brunhilde's D, and then there was silence. No inbox to clear, no voicemail badge screaming 37 missed calls, no unread texts, don't one guy who only messages at midnight and can't spell. Just firelight, darkness, breath, and yet there's something beautiful in that simplicity. It's not peace in the Instagram sense, with spa music and a lavender diffuser. It's a peace built from certainty. Not that things will get better, just that things are. Matilda works, she eats, she sleeps, she wakes, she repeats, not because she's trapped, but because this is the scanty song the world sings right now, and she knows theirs by heart. Sometimes, she wonders what it'd be like to have choices, to pick what to wear, to decide when to stop what's. Say, no, not today, and have the world listen. But most days, she doesn't wonder. She doesn't have the energy, because wonder is also a luxury. Her choice is reserved for people with full stomachs, dry beds, and spare time. Matilda has none of those. What she has is rhythm, the brutal, predictable kind, but also the type that keeps you grounded when everything else slips. She was S with the sun. It doesn't bring her to sleep, not because she sets an intent. She works until her muscles protest. Not because she's goal-driven, but because the animals don't care about motivation. She eats when the food is ready. Not because it's lunchtime, but because if you don't eat now, you might not later. That rhythm, strange as it seems, is its form of stability. There's no internal battle about what career path to take. No late-night tears over whether her life has purpose. She doesn't question her value or worth. Her contribution to her task is needed. Every minute she moves is necessary. If it doesn't, something breaks. Some don't suffers. Something starves. There's no debating if she's doing enough. She's doing everything. There, snickly, this lack of choice grants her a clarity we've lost. We have so many that are open, so don't consider that we forget how to walk down one. Options paralyze us, while their absence frees Matilda from missing out. There's nothing to miss. No vac, she's not taking. She's a networking event. No artisanal bread making. It's what she forgot to sign up for. Her entire social calendar was influenced by survival and daylight. Her me time is peeing without someone knocking over the bucket. For all the hardship, her rest is cleaner. Not just her sleep. Her doesn't raise no guilt when there's down. No internal voice wishes that she should have done more. She's done. Period. Her body knows it, the fire knows it, even the bugs know it. They crawl less when she's finally still, probably too exhausted D to be appetizing. She doesn't lie awake wondering if people liked her today. No one likes anyone here. They tolerate, they survive together, there's a space in breath and grime, but they don't perform for each other. There should be no masks, only hoods when it rains. And that simplicity, that raw, grimy honesty, it is freedom. The shot doesn't look pretty. The kind that doesn't smell great. It doesn't kind that gets you through the night without your heart racing for reasons you can't name. Matilda breathes in. The room breathes with her. The cold touches donate again, but she doesn't flinch. She's used to it. The cold, the closeness, the quiet. It's all part of the system now. Tomorrow will come, or it won't. Doesn't, might rise. Or not. They don't behave. Probably won't. Simon might survive. They hope he does, but none of that is for tonight. Toka doesn't belong to fire, breath, or bones resting in their rightful places. Tonight belongs to Sleetos and Tolan, or she's Feist. Not tricked by screens or medicated by treats, just sleep. Honest, brutal, real. Because in Matilda's Won't D, the body speaks louder than the brain. And when it says, no won't, the world doesn't argue. It listens. The room, if you can even call it that, is breathing. Not metaphorically, breathing. Dozens of lungs work in a slow, staggered rhythm. Some whistle, some wheeze. One, most likely Uncle Jorn, sounds like it's chewing on gravel, but together they form a kind of night symphony, a lullaby of exhaustion. Matilda lies perfectly still, not because she's cozy. There is no cozy here. There is warmth, but it's the kind of warmth that comes from being wedged between Brunhilde's elbow and Otto's bare feet. Heat by proximity, not comfort. It's just survival physics. She opens one eye. The fire is almost out again, dim orange threads barely clinging to life. The moonlight pushes through the cracks in the wooden wall like an awkward visitor who doesn't know when to leave. It lands on the room's far side, illuminating what little there is to see. A bundle of limbs over there, the curve of someone's back, a dog in the corner gnawing on something it definitely shouldn't have. This is the whole house. Everything happens here. Birth, death, meals, arguments, midnight farts, all of it. The hearth is the heart. The straw-covered platform is the bed. There are no rooms to retreat to, no door to shut when you need space. No, I need a minute. If you want solitude, you go outside and freeze. Matilda doesn't mind most days. She grew up with this. It's all she's ever known. But sometimes, especially on nights like this, she wonders what it might be like to fall asleep alone. Not forever, just once. To stretch her legs without elbowing Otto. To breathe without inhaling everyone else's recycled air. Let go of the constant unspoken awareness of everyone else's body. Because that's the thing here. There's no such thing as forgetting you're not alone. Every breath is a reminder. Every twitch, sniffle, and foot that accidentally kicks your shin under the blanket keeps you anchored to the reality that privacy isn't a concept in this world. It's a myth, a joke, a bedtime story for the rich. And yet, in some twisted, deeply inconvenient way, it's comforting, because Matilda isn't lonely. Not like people in the future will be. Not in the way you lie awake in your quiet apartment with your scented candle, noise machine, and $30 pillow, staring at your phone, scrolling past curated happiness, wondering why your chest feels like a lead box of bees. No, Matilda doesn't have that kind of silence. Her silence is shared. It hums with others, with warmth, with closeness. Uncomfortable? Constantly. But lonely? Never. The bedding is awful. That's not up for debate. It's a chaotic sandwich of straw, wool, cloth scraps, and bodies. Some parts itch, some parts poke, most parts smell like yesterday. They change the straw when they can, which isn't often, and even fresh straw has a scent. Earthy, damp, vaguely sour, not offensive, just honest. Her blanket is made of wool, thick, greasy, slightly crunchy wool. It's been passed down, patched up, burned once, repaired badly, and still keeps them alive. It traps heat like a bear's skin. It also traps smells, bugs, and the faint memory of spilled soup. Matilda presses her face into it anyway, because under all the grime and generations of stains, it still feels like safety. She listens again. Someone grinds their teeth, probably Brunhilde. Someone else murmurs a dream. Uncle Jorn mumbles something about cows. A mouse scurries across the rafters above, triggering a synchronized twitch in 3 sleepers below. This is how she falls asleep, surrounded not by softness but by existence. The closeness isn't optional, it's a necessity. You don't sleep apart in a house without insulation, heat, or a fireplace chimney unless you're ill or exiled. Even that's negotiable. So they pile in, like spoons, like laundry, like a family trying not to die of exposure. They sleep so close that they breathe each other's dreams. While modern advice would scream about boundaries, space, and sleep hygiene, Matilda would stare blankly at those words. Hygiene? There's no soap. Space? There's a goat in the bed. Boundaries? You just farted on your sister and she rolled over like it's Tuesday, and somehow it works. Because of all the bodily chaos and biological warfare that happens under this blanket each night, they all wake up, every day, together, even when the wind howls through the cracks, even when the snow piles up at the door, even when everything outside that wooden wall feels like it's falling apart. In here, it holds. Barely, but it holds. Matilda lets out a slow exhale, lips pressed against her arm. Her skin is sticky with sweat. Her hair is tangled with straw. She knows Brunhilde will wake in an hour to poke the fire again. She knows Otto will roll over and steal most of the blanket. She knows the goat will probably pee in the corner by dawn. And she accepts it all. Because this is how you live when comfort isn't a goal, it's a rumor. You take what you get. You find peace in the rustling of straw. You dream between elbows. And when you wake up, sore, itchy, covered in everything, you still say, I slept. Not well, not deeply, not luxuriously, but fully, earned, deserved. And in a world like Matilda's, that's all the victory anyone needs. Dawn doesn't arrive like a trumpet blast in Matilda's world. There's no alarm clock, no chirping phone, and no gentle playlist. Morning glow fading in through Bluetooth. There's just light, soft, pale, and intrusive, sneaking through the cracks in the wood like an old friend who always forgets to knock. It kisses her face first, cold cheeks, chapped lips. Then it trickles down to her shoulders, crawling between the folds of the heavy wool blanket like a nosy ghost. Matilda doesn't open her eyes immediately. There's no reason to. She knows what she'll see. The same ceiling, the same smoke-stained beams, the same bundle of humanity twitching and snoring and slowly coming back to life. Brunhilde's already muttering something under her breath. A prayer? A complaint? It could be both. Otto snorts. One of his legs jerks. The goat makes a low, judging noise from the other side of the room. It always wakes up before them. He probably thinks it's better than them, and honestly, it might be. Matilda exhales. The air is colder now, biting at her nose. Someone must have let the fire die too far. She can hear the quiet click of wood expanding as the house warms millimeter by millimeter. It sounds like bones stretching, like the house itself is waking up. And with it, so must she. Not because she wants to. Not because she's brimming with joy or passion or the unbearable urge to journal about her intentions, but because that's the deal. The light means it's time. That's how it's always worked. You move with the sun, not ahead of it, not against it, with it. She shifts carefully, peeling herself from the others like a page stuck with syrup. Her back complains. Her shoulders offer a series of pops like bad percussion. The wool blanket clings to her arms like it doesn't want to let go. It knows what's coming. Cold, not turn up the thermostat cold, not grab your hoodie cold. Real cold, medieval cold. Cold that doesn't just sit on your skin. It presses through it, it negotiates with your bones, and it always wins. Her feet hit the floor. Dirt, uneven, gritty, still damp from last night's humidity and possibly Otto's poor bladder control. She grimaces but doesn't flinch. It's part of the process, part of the morning ritual. Before standing, her body knows the sequence. Fire, water, feed, move. She steps over Jorn, still snoring like someone trying to swallow a harmonica, and walks to the hearth. The coals are nearly gone. A few stubborn embers pulse under the ash-like red eyes. She pokes at them with the same stick they've used for months. It's more charcoal than wood now, but it does the job. She blows gently. It's a soft prayer, a bargain. If the fire comes back, they might not freeze. If it doesn't, well, they've lived through worse. A few sparks catch. The flames rise like they're waking up too, stretching, yawning, still annoyed about being alive. She feeds them more kindling. Then a chunk of peat. Not glamorous, but reliable. The smell is awful, like moss dipped in sadness, but the heat makes up for it. Behind her, the rest of the house stirs. Brunhilde coughs. Otto groans. The goat, always punctual, starts bleating like it's been personally wronged. The world is starting again. Matilda doesn't expect gratitude from the fire, or the goat, or the sky. She keeps moving. That's the rule. That's the rhythm. She doesn't check the time. She doesn't have the time. No clock, no sundial, just the angle of light and the gut feeling that if she doesn't start soon, something won't get done and everything else will suffer. There's no grace period in her life. The water needs fetching. Again, the same buckets, the same walk, the same slippery stones and angry frogs judge her as she passes. The path is muddy, always muddy. Her shoes, or what's left of them, squelch with every step. Her toes are already wet before she's halfway there. She fills the buckets, arms aching and back pulsing. She doesn't stop to stretch. He doesn't sigh dramatically for effect. She just turns and walks back, head down, muscles locked into motion. Because water is life. Because if she spills even a little, someone drinks less, or washes less, or skips something they shouldn't forget. And in Matilda's world, nothing is optional. Everything costs something. Back at the house, the day is truly awake now. The air smells like smoke and bread and animals. The kind of scent that clings to your hair, your clothes, your soul. Otto's trying to catch a chicken, failing. Brunhilde's chopping something that might be a vegetable. It might be a rock. It's hard to tell. And Matilda? She keeps moving, because that's the only thing that matters here. Motion. You move or you fall behind. You fall behind and someone else pays. No one has time to carry the weight of someone else's delay. There's no sick day, no PTO, no mental health morning. Did you do the thing, and why isn't the thing done? She doesn't resent it, not really. There's no energy for resentment, just repetition, ritual. The world moves, and she moves with it. By the time midday comes, if you can even call it that, since the sun rarely shows its face, Matilda has already done more than some people do in a week. And she'll keep going because there's no climax, no crescendo, just the constant, quiet drum of necessity. And when night comes again, she'll lie back in that awful, itchy, half-bug-infested bed and do it all again. She'll feel the fire fade. She'll feel Brunhilde breathing beside her. She'll feel the cold return like a tax collector. And she'll close her eyes, not in peace or victory, but in rhythm. Because in Matilda's world, rhythm is peace. And that rhythm, it never stops. By the time the sky begins to bruise, streaking the edges of the clouds with burnt gold and ash gray, Matilda is barely upright. Not that anyone's tracking sunset. There's no golden hour selfies, no soft jazz playlist to cue the winding down of the day. There's just light slipping away like spilled ale, fast, messy, and final. The cottage darkens quickly. Not because they dim the lights, because they are the lights. The fire flickers low. A single tallow candle trembles on the table like it's afraid of the wind. Its wax runs down the side like tears. Expensive tears. A candle is a treasure. A day's work, at least. They only light it because Hilda nearly sliced her finger chopping roots yesterday. Everything is slower now. Brunhilde's breath comes in soft wheezes as she rubs her calves. Otto is curled in the corner, still smelling faintly of goose feathers and triumph. He caught a chicken today. Uncle Jorn sits by the fire, poking it like it insulted him. His eyes are distant, foggy. Matilda wonders if he's thinking of his old village, the one he left after the sickness. He never talks about it. But sometimes he stares at the fire like he's waiting for it to burn everything back. Matilda finishes her final chore, stirring the pottage one last time. It doesn't need it, but her hands need something to do. The smell is familiar. Onions, barley. A hint of smoke and desperation. She ladles it into bowls, one for each person. One small extra spoonful for Hilda. She gave up her bread at lunch. No one talks during supper. They chew, they breathe, someone sighs, and when it's done, there's no dessert, no wine, no late-night show to ease the transition. Just the slow shuffle toward bed. Not a mattress. Not even separate mats. Just the communal pile of blankets, straw, and vaguely flammable cloth. It's not graceful. Matilda doesn't fold into bed like a character in a romance novel. She falls into it like a bag of laundry someone gave up folding. Her bones hit the straw with a thud. Her head lands on a sack of old wool that once dreamed of being a pillow. Otto rolls over and claims a corner of the blanket. She yanks it back. It's the only argument they'll have tonight. The fire dies down to a glow, just enough to show where the bodies are. Just enough to make shadows dance across the ceiling beams like half-formed thoughts. And then comes the quiet. Not silence. Never true silence. There's too much life for that. There's breathing, always breathing. There's someone grinding their teeth, someone muttering about wheat. The goat snorts, a rat scurries near the wall, but it's the kind of noise that knows it's supposed to be quiet. And in the middle of it all, Matilda feels it happening again. Sleep. Not the sleek, tech-optimized sleep of the future. No REM cycle calculators, no weighted blankets, no lavender sprays or ASMR whisper therapy, just exhaustion, honest, unforgiving exhaustion. It wraps around her like fog. She blinks once, feels her limbs soften, the edges of her thoughts blur. But before the real sleep comes, there's that moment, that middle, the ancient pause. She doesn't have a word for it. Modern scholars will call it biphasic sleep. Historians will marvel at it. But for Matilda, it's just what happens. She wakes, half wakes, somewhere around midnight. Her eyes flutter open. The room hasn't changed, but the world feels different, like it's holding its breath. She hears Brunhilde whispering, a prayer, low, repetitive. Saint Apollonia, patroness of teeth and pain. She's been having aches again. Matilda doesn't speak. She listens. She watches the fire's last sigh. Then she turns on her side, faces the wall, feels the cold against her cheeks. She whispers her own prayer, not dramatic, not formal, just a few words mumbled into the wool blanket. For Simon, who still coughs, for the goat who limps, for her hands cracked and raw. She doesn't expect answers, she just wants someone or something to hear her. That's the thing about midnight, it softens you. You forget the fight, the work, the mud. You remember the things you're afraid to think during the day, the things that feel too heavy when the sun is out. Matilda thinks about her mother, gone 2 winters now. She remembers the way she sang when she kneaded dough, the way she used to braid Matilda's hair with fingers that never stopped moving. She thinks about Eldrick, who hasn't smiled since the last bad harvest, about the way Otto clings to her now like he knows the world is a place that forgets small people. She doesn't cry, she just breathes, long and slow, and eventually it comes again. Second sleep. It's gentler, deeper. It sinks into her like roots into soil. No dreams this time. Just dark, just quiet, just warmth. When Matilda sleeps like this, the world is kind. It forgets her chores, it pauses her pain, it wraps her in a stillness she can't explain. Not joy, not peace. Something older, something primal, like the universe remembering, just for a few hours, not to demand anything from her. The goat finally settles. The last ember dims, and the house, this cramped, itchy, smelly miracle of survival, falls into sync. Nothing moves, nothing stirs, and Matilda, she disappears. Not forever, just until the light comes back. The night outside has grown thick, not just dark, but thick, like it has weight. Like if you open the door, you'd have to push through it, shoulder first, like trudging through molasses. The stars have gone quiet, the wind has gone shy, even the moon, once bold and proud, now hides behind a gauze of cloud like it's decided to give them some privacy. Inside, the world is still, utterly, unapologetically still. The fire has given up, reduced to a faint orange whisper trapped in a cage of ash. It glows, not for warmth, not for light, just out of stubbornness, like it wants to say, I was here. The room is colder now, noticeably so. The kind of cold that creeps in polite at first, then unapologetically sits on your chest. But under the blanket, in that fortress of wool, flesh, and faint barnyard scent, Matilda doesn't notice. She's deep in it. Second sleep has taken her all the way down, beneath the noise, beneath the memory, beneath the ache. It is the deepest breath she'll take all day, the longest sentence her body will finish without interruption. Around her, the others remain motionless. Brunhilde's mouth is open, gently breathing in rhythm with the goats. Otto has both arms sprawled out like he's attempting to fly in his dreams. Hilda is curled, fetal, murmuring something from another life. And Uncle Jorn? He doesn't move. For a second, one sharp, icy second, Matilda stirs. Her eyes flicker, just enough to scan the dimness, just enough to wonder. But then she hears it. A snort, a shift. He's fine. Alive. Just resting so hard it almost looks theatrical. She exhales again, deeper this time. That's the problem with living this close to everyone. You don't just carry their warmth, you carry their worry, their weight. Their breath becomes your lullaby, but also your alarm clock. Still she sinks. The dreams are different now. Not visions, not fears. Just fragments. A field, a dog, a river in summer. Her mother's hands, strong and wrinkled, shelling peas by the fire. The goat, but oddly respectful. Her hands don't ache in the dream. Her feet are dry. She doesn't have to move. In the dream, Matilda is enough. Not strong, not perfect, not wise beyond her years, just enough. And that's rare, because in the waking world, enough is a moving target, a bar that shifts every morning depending on how much water spills, how many weeds return, how many things break down without permission. But here in the quiet folds of second sleep, there is no checklist, no bruised pride, no disappointment pressed into her spine like straw gone sharp, just breath. Just the low, steady hum of a house still holding. This is the part no one writes about in the history books, the part between battles, between plagues, between kings and cathedrals, the part where nothing dramatic happens. No one dies, no one marries. No one invents anything. They just sleep. But it matters, because this right here, this wool-smothered, lice-risking pile of humans is what held history together. This is the glue, the quiet, the ordinary, the nights where people didn't make decisions or declarations or history. They just rested so they could try again tomorrow. And somehow that's sacred, more sacred than rituals, more powerful than thrones. The fact that even now, after everything, after blistered feet and black bread, after cold water and colder looks, they still lie here trusting the night to leave them untouched until morning. And trust? That's a miracle, not a flashy one. Not a burning bush, thunderclap kind of miracle. Just the miracle of letting go. Of believing that when your eyes close, they'll open again. That the roof will stay. That the goat won't chew your hair. That the world won't collapse while you sleep. Matilda doesn't know it's brave. She just calls it sleep. But in that sleep, she does something radical. She surrenders. And in doing so, she becomes part of a lineage older than royalty, older than walls, older than language. The human cycle of exhaustion, hope, and healing. She doesn't dream of the future. She doesn't know she's being remembered. That centuries later, people will wonder how she lived, how she endured, what it felt like to exist in her shoes, cracked and stuffed with straw as they were. She doesn't know she's an ancestor to the tired, to the restless, to the ones lying awake tonight, far from firelight, wrapped in synthetic sheets, scrolling for calm. But she is. She's proof that even in the coldest nights, in the smallest spaces, under the worst conditions, people rested, people healed, people dreamed. Not big, not grand, not forever, just enough. And when morning comes, she'll rise again, shake the straw from her sleeves, stumble toward the fire, curse the cold, miss her mother, yell at the goat, smile maybe if Otto trips into the wash bucket, and she'll start again. Not because she's inspired, not because she's fearless, but because it's what comes next. Because the rhythm hasn't stopped, because the breath hasn't left, because the world, cruel and clumsy and loud as it is, hasn't said no yet. And as long as it keeps saying yes, Matilda will keep moving. But for now, she sleeps, and maybe, just maybe, so should you. By now, the house has vanished into silence. Not just stillness, true silence. Even the wind seems to respect it, choosing not to whistle through the gaps in the boards. Even the goat, usually so vocal about its grievances, has resigned itself to the warmth of still legs and shared breath. Matilda does not dream anymore. She slipped past that point, deeper, to the place where even thought has folded in on itself, where breath is automatic, where time becomes irrelevant. She is nowhere and everywhere, just a pulse wrapped in wool. And in this stillness, we, watching from the comfort of our beds, our couches, our screens, are the ones who shift. Because by now, you're not really thinking about firewood or goats or medieval pottage. You're thinking about your own body, your own breath, your own place in the quiet. Maybe your sheets are too warm. Maybe your room hums with the soft glow of LED. Maybe your brain, so used to being pulled in 5 directions at once, is finally, slowly letting go. And as Matilda sleeps, maybe part of you envies her. Not the dirt, not the blisters, not the centuries of backbreaking labor, but the simplicity, the clarity. Because in her world, nothing competes for attention once the fire dies. There's no to-do list in her straw bed, no half-read texts, no buzzing group chats, no calendar alerts for tomorrow's meeting with a title you already forgot. There is only now, only sleep, and it's honest. We, the future folk, have made sleep complicated. We track it, hack it, light it with blue screens and block it with worry. We take pills to find it and apps to fake it. We glorify busyness as if exhaustion is a badge of honor. But Matilda, she simply sleeps. Not because she's figured it out, because she doesn't have the option not to. And maybe, just maybe, that's the lesson tucked inside her quiet world. That sleep doesn't need to be perfect, or scheduled, or analyzed, it just needs to be allowed. Matilda gives herself that permission. Every night. No gratitude journal, no wind down playlist, no reminders to hydrate or stretch or breathe mindfully. She lies down and lets the world fall away because that's what bodies are meant to do when the fire burns low and the sky turns black. She surrenders. And tonight, maybe you can too. Not because your day was perfect, or your mind is quiet, or your body is ready, but because you've done enough, even if you didn't finish the list, even if your inbox is still full, even if the day wasn't what you hoped, you're here, breathing, present. And for just a little while, you get to let go. So close your eyes if they aren't already closed. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders drop. The world will spin without your worry tonight. The moon doesn't need your guidance. The stars won't fall if you stop checking your phone. You can rest. You've earned it, not by winning, but by surviving. Like Matilda. She won't remember this night. She'll wake to sore feet and cold air, the grumble of livestock and the ache of routine. She'll feed the fire, fetch the water, fight the same damn goat. And she won't question any of it. Because for her, surviving is enough. And maybe that's more noble than we give it credit for. Because sometimes the most heroic thing you can do is get through the day and sleep anyway, not in spite of the noise, but in defiance of it. So let the story close now. Let Matilda's breath fade gently into the hush of your own. Let the images blur, the firelight, the straw, the thick wool blanket shared by 5 exhausted souls. Let them become soft edges in the dark corners of your mind, because the story has done its job. It has carried you here, out of your world and into hers, through hardship and humility, through fire and frost, until all that remains is the quiet echo of a girl sleeping under a broken roof. Safe, for now, still. And if you listen closely, you might just hear what she hears. Nothing and everything at once. Good night. And don't forget, if you made it this far, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your city or country in the comments below and hit that subscribe button. Tomorrow's story is waiting, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Somewhere in the distance, a rooster begins to scream. Not sing, not crow majestically, just scream, with the raw, unapologetic chaos of a creature who doesn't understand time zones or indoor voices. It's early, too early. But in Matilda's world, that means nothing. Early is a myth. Sleep ends not when you're ready, but when something louder decides it's over. She stirs, not with grace, not with the gentle unraveling of someone stretching in white sheets. Her eyes crack open, her neck twinges. Her back registers a formal complaint. The world rushes in before she even has the chance to decide if she wants it. She blinks at the ceiling, still there, still smoke-stained, still leaking in places. The fire is out. Otto's foot is in her ribs. The goat has somehow ended up closer than it should be. Someone, Jorn, probably has already stood up and is mumbling into his beard about frost and lost socks. It's morning again, and just like that, the rhythm resumes. But before she fully rises, before the weight of the day settles back into her spine, there's a moment, a heartbeat, a pause. And it's in that pause where something sacred happens. Memory. Not hers, ours. Because here in this blurry space between her world and ours, we remember. We remember how far we've come, how much we've changed. How even though we live in heated homes with clean water and mattresses that advertise cloud-like softness, we still crave what Matilda had in the stillness of night. Belonging, simplicity, a pause without pressure. Her life was hard, let's not romanticize it. She lived with pain, hunger, cold, inconvenience, so massive it would send most of us into a spiral by breakfast. She didn't have freedom, not in the way we do. No choice, no autonomy, no illusion of control. And yet, she had something we're still searching for. A kind of rootedness, a raw, unfiltered connection to life without the middleman of technology, commentary, or curated experience. When she touched water, it was from a stream, not a plastic bottle. When she slept, it was because her body insisted, not because her smartwatch told her she hit REM. When she cried, no one asked her to explain it in 280 characters or share a # vulnerable moment on Instagram. She simply lived. And in living simply, she found a rhythm modern life has tried and failed to automate. We, the descendants of those who survived just like Matilda, now live in comfort that would make her weep. We have warmth, privacy, choices. We can listen to oceans while we sleep. We can summon food to our door. We can visit 100 cities without leaving bed. And yet, we're tired. We are so tired. Not the bone-deep tired of physical labor, but the invisible exhaustion of decision fatigue, constant stimulation, and the pressure to always be on. We don't sleep because our minds won't let us. We don't rest because rest feels unproductive. We wake up more tired than when we closed our eyes. So we come to stories like Matilda's, not to escape, but to remember. To remember a time when sleep was survival, not luxury. When waking up meant doing the next necessary thing, not proving yourself all over again. When people leaned on each other, not because they had issues with boundaries, but because they had no choice, and that closeness was its own kind of wealth. Matilda won't know she helped you fall asleep tonight. She doesn't need to. That's the beauty of her story. It doesn't ask for anything. It just exists, like the crackle of fire, like the rustle of straw, like breath shared beneath a wool blanket in the dead of winter. Her story reminds us that even in the hardest lives, the quiet moments matter. That rest isn't weak. That surviving is, itself, a triumph. So as you lie there, your world dimming, your thoughts slowing, know this. You carry her with you now, in your breath, in your stillness, in your surrender. Not to a kingdom or a cause, but to this moment. This small, soft decision to stop trying, to stop scrolling, to stop reaching, and just be. Matilda isn't royalty. She's not a saint. She won't be remembered in songs or carved into stone. But she matters. Because she did what humans have done for thousands of years. She closed her eyes, trusted the dark, and let the world continue spinning without her help. And now, so do you. The room around you, modern or not, fades. The air softens, the tension in your hands melts away, the hum of your devices fades into the background. You've made it, to the part where nothing is required, to the part where peace isn't earned, but received, to the part where stories end, not with fireworks, but with breath. Slow, even, safe. Good night, Matilda. Good night, listener. You're home. The story is over now, but the quiet it left behind still lingers, like the scent of smoke in wool, like the warmth of a body that just rolled out of bed. You can feel it, can't you? That hush, that heaviness, like the air itself has curled beside you, finally deciding to rest. Matilda sleeps, and so does the house. Its wooden beams, its crooked door, its dirt floor, held together by the sheer will of ancestors, it all rests. The fire has nothing left to give. The goat, a creature of pure stubbornness, has gone silent. Even the wind, which usually loves to make trouble around the windows, seems to pause. Just for now. Everything waits. Because something sacred just happened. A night was survived. No trumpets, no triumph, no heroic last stand, just breathing, just enduring, just the miracle of opening your eyes and closing them again. And that, somehow, feels like everything. You don't need a battle to feel brave. You don't need to accomplish anything tonight to be worthy of rest. If all you did was keep breathing, if all you managed was to lie still and let your body be a body, then you've done what Matilda did. You've taken part in the oldest tradition in human history. Rest in the face of chaos. Her chaos was different. Dirtier. Colder. Wrapped in goat hair and obligation. But the chaos of now, your chaos, is just as loud. It's digital, emotional, invisible. A storm of pings, thoughts, what-ifs, and what-nows. It's the stress of a world that doesn't sleep, even when you beg it to. But here's the secret Matilda knew. You don't need the world's permission to rest. You just need your own. And look, you're doing it. Right now, in this moment, you're still. You're quiet. Your thoughts might still be running in circles, but your body, it's doing what hers did. Letting go. Sinking in. Unclenching. Trusting the mattress to hold your weight, the air to fill your lungs, the dark to not betray you. That's enough. You are enough. Matilda never asked herself if she was doing life right. She didn't spend hours wondering if she had found her passion, built her brand, optimized her morning routine. She didn't ask for peace. She made it, out of scraps, out of fire and fatigue, out of the simple decision to close her eyes and let her bones be still. And you get to do the same, but with better blankets and fewer goats. So as this story slips away, quiet as snow, let your breath anchor you. Feel the mattress beneath you. Feel the weight of the air above you. Feel how nothing is being asked of you right now. Not a single thing. You don't need to fix the world. You don't need to plan tomorrow. You don't need to know what comes next. Because tonight is not about next. Tonight is about now. This inhale, this exhale, this fading thought, this soft landing. Matilda's world is gone. Her footprints are long erased by rain and time, but the rhythm she knew, that ancient, bone-deep lullaby, it's still here. It's in you. It always was. You come from a long line of people who made it through hard things, who kept moving, who found sleep wherever they could, on dirt floors, in crowded rooms, by fires that refused to die. And now it's your turn. You, lying in the quiet, in the comfort of this moment, are honoring them, with every breath that says, I'm still here. With every heartbeat that whispers, I'm trying. You don't have to be perfect to rest, you just have to be tired. And my friend, you've earned this tired. Let it take you. Let your mind drift out of this world and into Matilda's, and then beyond, into something weightless, into stars that don't judge, into dreams that don't demand clarity, into sleep that doesn't need fixing. Let go. The story will wait. The world will wait. Right now, your only job is to rest, to sleep, to disappear, just for a little while, into the quiet that carried Matilda and every tired soul before and after her, into the one place where even the hardest lives find softness. You're not alone. You're never alone. And when the morning comes, and it will come, you'll rise again, like Matilda, like the fire, like every story waiting to be told. But for now, close your eyes, let the dark take care of you, and sleep. There is a quiet that only arrives after the final word. It doesn't shout, it doesn't ask for attention. It simply arrives, soft as breath, still as snowfall, final as a door gently closing behind you. That's where you are now. Not in Matilda's cottage, not in your bedroom, but somewhere in between. A place made of story and silence, where the weight of the day no longer matters and time forgets to keep ticking. This isn't the end, but it's the place where ends are allowed, where effort pauses, where survival exhales. Matilda sleeps, the fire is out, the goat dreams if goats do such things. Her world has folded itself back into the dark, and with it, so has yours. Because now, after 12 chapters of dirt floors, smoke-stained beams, wool blankets, aching joints, and quiet courage, you're here, at peace. Not because everything is okay, but because for a moment, nothing is being asked of you. And that is a rare, beautiful thing. You've walked with her, felt the cold bite her skin, heard the creak of wood under her feet, tasted the steam of pottage she barely flavored. You've climbed into bed beside her, not for comfort, but for survival. You've watched her surrender to the dark, not with fear, but with familiarity, because the night doesn't scare her anymore. It's home, and now somehow, it's home for you too. Because sleep, like story, doesn't care about centuries. It doesn't care about castles or apps, status or stress. It only asks one thing: will you let go? And if you're here, still listening, still breathing, then maybe, just maybe, the answer is yes. Maybe Matilda didn't live to see her name in books. Maybe she didn't change the course of empires. Maybe she never traveled farther than the village boundary, never owned more than a comb and a wooden spoon. But she mattered, because she endured, because she lit a fire, held a child, whispered a prayer into the straw, and woke up again the next day to do it all over. Because when the world gave her little, she still gave it back what she could. And now, her story is yours. Not in the way you own it, but in the way you carry it. When you rest, when you breathe deeply, when you decide that enough really is enough, when you choose stillness in a world that keeps screaming for motion. That's Matilda, tucked into your chest like a quiet truth. And maybe tomorrow you'll wake up and forget most of this. That's okay, she would understand. There are chickens to chase, notifications to check, bread to bake, or meetings to attend. But some part of you will remember the rhythm, the warmth, the weight of survival pressed against the dirt floor of history. And maybe, just maybe, when your head hits the pillow tomorrow night, it won't feel so lonely. You'll know that someone, once, lay down just like this, not in luxury, but in courage. And that might make all the difference. Because sleep is not just a pause, it's a protest, a defiant, sacred choice to rest when the world demands more. Matilda didn't know the word resistance, but she lived it. Every night she didn't collapse in despair, every morning she lit the fire again. So now, here at the edge of this story, with the echoes fading into hush, I offer you this. Let your sleep tonight be bold. Let it be undeserved. Let it be imperfect. But let it be real. Don't tidy your mind first. Don't apologize for being tired. Don't overthink the silence. Just let yourself fall into darkness that isn't empty, into a world that understands, into a space where you're not measured, not judged, not fixed, but simply held. Held by straw, by story, by centuries of souls who slept before you, not knowing if they'd wake, but trusting the night anyway. You are one of them now, and they are proud. So go, sink, dream. If dreams come, let them be strange. If they don't, let the blankness be enough. You've carried enough, you've tried hard enough, you've earned rest, not because you finished the race, but because you're still here. Breathing, listening, and now finally, letting go. Matilda's fire is gone, the house is quiet, and so are you. Good night, traveler. You're safe. You're home. You can rest now. There is something about the silence after a story ends. It's not empty, not hollow. It hums with what's been left behind, like a scent clinging to fabric, like smoke curling up from a wick long extinguished. You feel it, don't you? That stillness, that breath between one world and the next. Matilda is gone, not gone like lost, not gone like forgotten. Gone like dust settling, like a bell that rang and now simply waits. Her story has curled itself into the quiet corners of your night, finding a place among your own restless thoughts. But she lingers, not because she demands attention. Matilda never needed to be seen, but because she was real. Real in the way stillness is real. Real in the way struggle is honest. She lived without asking for anything more than warmth, breath, and a tomorrow she couldn't control. And now her rhythm is part of you. You don't have to do anything with it. There's no task, no moral. This isn't a parable about productivity. It's not a lesson you're supposed to remember in the morning. It's something smaller, softer, older. It's just this. You made it. Through the noise, through the rush, through the day that tried to pull you apart, you're still here. And if that doesn't feel like enough, remember, Matilda didn't have more than that either. She had no proof of progress, no guarantee of outcome, but she had presence. She had the fire, she had her breath, and now so do you. This story wasn't just about her, it was about you. About what happens when you stop long enough to listen, not just to the words, but to the space between them. That's where the truth lives, in the spaces, in the pauses, in the breaths no one noticed but still mattered. And you noticed, you stayed. That alone is rare. The world isn't built for staying. It's built for swiping, for skipping, for speeding through. But you didn't skip this. You followed it. You followed her into the dirt, into the dark, into a sleep that wasn't yours, but somehow felt like it could be. That's something. That's connection. Not the loud kind, but the deep kind. The kind that doesn't require response, just presence. Like sitting beside someone in silence and realizing you've never felt more understood. You never met Matilda, but you know her now, and somehow she knows you too. Because stories don't end when the words do. They echo, they ripple, they find cracks in your day and slip through, soft as light under a door. They wait in the corners of your mind, not to be remembered, but to be felt. Tomorrow you'll move on, you'll check your phone, make your coffee, scroll, reply, hustle, plan. And Matilda will be gone. Almost, but not completely. Because maybe when you pause, when your feet hit the cold floor or your breath catches in your throat, you'll remember, not her name, not the plot, but the feeling of being still, of surviving gently, of letting go. That feeling is yours now. You earned it, not because you tried hard enough, but because you allowed it. You let yourself stop. You gave yourself a moment. You became part of a lineage older than history. Humans who lived, struggled, and found peace not in greatness, but in small, sacred pauses. And maybe tonight, that's all you need. Not a new plan, not a big answer, just a story, one that asked nothing, one that carried you, one that stayed. So as you lie there, eyes heavy, breath slow, know this. The world is still turning, the stars are still watching, and sleep, ancient and patient, is still waiting with open arms. You don't have to run to meet it, you don't even have to try. You just have to trust that it's enough, that you are enough. So go, let the hush take hold, let the story fade, let the night finish what it started. Matilda is asleep, and now, finally, so are you. There's a kind of magic in the final breath of a story, not the climax, not the twist, but the soft landing, the hush after the last word, the quiet where meaning settles. You're here now, in that place, between wake and sleep, between this world and another. And Matilda, she's already gone, not in a sad way, not in a way that leaves you empty. She left like stories do, full of life, then fading, not because they're over, but because they've done what they came to do. She gave you rhythm, she gave you stillness, she gave you herself, and now she's part of you, somewhere deep in the quiet corners of your night. Not a ghost, not a memory, just a truth that even the most ordinary life holds sacred weight, that even silence can tell a story. But now comes the part we often forget to give ourselves: permission to stop, to not have to understand everything, to not have to be on, to not have to carry what isn't yours. Matilda gave herself permission every time she let the fire go out, every time she dropped into the straw without apology, every time she let the dark come close without fighting it. You can do the same. This moment, right here, this final stretch of breath and shadow, it belongs to no one else. You don't owe it to your calendar, your inbox, your goals. Goals. You don't owe it to progress or performance or anything that chases you when the sun's up. This is yours. Unrushed, unpolished, unperformed, just you, just now. And maybe that's the most radical thing you can do. Just be, not improve, not reflect, not even dream. Just exist in this space, in this body, in this breath. Matilda didn't need a reason to sleep, neither do you. So if your mind is still clinging to thoughts, let them unravel, let them fall. Let them be like ash drifting from a fire that's already gone cold. They'll wait, they always do. But this quiet, it won't. It's here now, and it's enough. You don't need to name this feeling. You don't need to save it. Just live in it for a while. Let it hold you. Let it rock you. Let it whisper things you forgot to believe. That you're safe, that you're human, that you don't have to keep climbing tonight. You've climbed enough. You've endured enough. Like Matilda, you've earned this pause. You don't have to make sense of it. Just trust it. The fire in her cottage has died, but a different warmth remains. One that doesn't come from flame, but from knowing you're not alone. That others have walked dark roads too. That others have laid down their burdens without needing permission. So here's yours. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to sleep. Not because you finished everything, but because you didn't have to. You're allowed to forget your name for a while and just be breath and heartbeat, floating on a story that asked for nothing in return. That's what this was. Not a performance, not a production, a gift. A long, quiet walk beside someone who never knew your name, but somehow understood your weariness. That's the strange power of story. It connects us without asking, it heals without demanding. And now it's done. The cottage fades, the smoke curls out of sight, the goat snorts one last time, far off in the distance, and Matilda rolls over, deeper into sleep, never knowing she was followed, never needing to know. But you'll remember, not every word, not every detail, but the feeling of slowing down, of being cradled in quiet, of letting the night be what it's meant to be. Not a threat, not a void, but a blanket, one stitched by time, by ancestors, by every tired person who ever laid their body down and chose peace instead of panic. So now, gently, softly, I'll step back. The story is over, the room is quiet, and your breath is the only sound that matters. Take one more, then another, then none at all, at least not consciously. Let your thoughts drip like candle wax, let your fingers soften, let the bed hold what the day could not. You don't need to say goodbye, not really. Stories like these don't end, they rest, like you, like her, like everything worth waiting for. Good night, truly this time. You are safe, you are still, you are home, and tomorrow we begin again, but not yet, not now. For now, just sleep. There's nothing left to tell, and yet you're still here, still listening, still breathing, still held by the shape of a story that ended long ago but never quite let go of your hand. And that's the secret no one talks about. Stories don't end when the words stop. They echo, they hum, they breathe beneath your skin long after you've forgotten the plot. You've crossed the final threshold now, beyond narrative, beyond Matilda, beyond the fire, the goat, the straw-filled sleep. What remains? Just you, but not the version of you who started this. Not the one with tension in your shoulders, with eyes darting from screen to screen, thoughts tangled like overgrown vines. That version has softened, melted, become someone else, someone slower, someone gentler, someone quieter. Matilda's world didn't follow you here, but her rhythm did, and you carried it. Not because you needed to, but because your body remembered what it feels like to live without performance, without the need to fix, prove, explain, to just be. No one's watching now. You've slipped into that sacred stillness where the world forgets to judge and you forget to care. There is no applause here, no metrics, no success to chase, just rest. Raw and unfiltered. Your breath is the only story left. In, out. like waves lapping at the edge of consciousness, like the echo of Matilda's fire still crackling in some ancient version of your soul. You could drift now. No effort, no ceremony, just a slow release into something deeper than sleep, something older than bedtime, a return to the self before alarms, before deadlines, before you were told you had to be more. Because Matilda never tried to be more. She was tired. She slept. She was cold. She wrapped herself in wool and hope. She didn't optimize her rest. She earned it. You have too. Maybe you don't believe that. Maybe the noise of the world is still whispering at the edge of your mind, telling you rest is for later, for when you've done more, for when you've proven your worth. But let me say it again, clearly, softly, like a lullaby carved into wood. You don't have to earn this. It's yours, by right, by breath, by the simple miracle of existing. Matilda's story wasn't about victory, it was about continuance, the sacred act of getting up each morning with cracked hands and tired bones and choosing again and again to live. And here you are, doing the same. Not for praise, not for legacy, but because something inside you still wants to see the fire lit again tomorrow. So let this be the part where everything falls away. The names, the noise, the shape of your day, let it melt into nothing, into the soft hum behind your eyelids, into the weightlessness of not needing to hold anything anymore. The story has laid its final brick. The house is built. Not with timber or stone, but with breath and empathy and the shared understanding that we are all, in our own way, tired. And we are all, in our own way, sacred. Even you. Especially you. So here in the gentle slope after ending, I offer no resolution, no twist, no meaning to decode. Just a space for your thoughts to soften, a space for your muscles to loosen, a space for you to forget the lines between fiction and reality, between centuries and seconds, between Matilda's straw bed and your own. This is not sleep. This is before sleep. This is the bridge, and you are already halfway across. If your eyes are still open, let them flutter closed. If your jaw is tight, let it hang heavy. If your chest is restless, follow your breath like a lullaby whispered through time, because Matilda is not waiting for you. She's already there, in the quiet, in the peace, in the dark that isn't empty, but full of rest and story and the silence that cradles both. Go to her, or don't. It doesn't matter. The moment has you either way. You've entered the part of night that doesn't need narration, the part where you forget who you were trying to be and remember what it feels like to just be. That's where we end. Not with punctuation, not with answers, but with trust. Trust that you can rest, that the world will wait, that the fire, even when it dies, leaves behind enough warmth to carry you through. So sleep now. No more words, just the hush of centuries holding you. If you're still here, you're not really here. You've already gone someplace softer, someplace quieter, and yet something in you is still listening, not with your ears, but with your breath. That's how stories end, isn't it? Not with applause, not with fanfare, but with breath, with silence, with that quiet exhale you didn't realize you were holding, now slipping gently into the dark. This is the final flicker of flame, the last ember in the hearth. Not bright, not loud, just warm. It doesn't need to light the room. It only needs to remind you that it was once fire, that it once roared, that it kept you company even when all the lights went out. Matilda is gone now. Gone in the same way the sun is gone after it sets. Out of sight, but not out of reach. She rests in the place where stories go when they've done their work, somewhere deep, beyond memory, beyond words, and yet still close, because you carried her this far. You walked beside her. You heard her breath, felt her cold, laughed quietly at the goat, and more importantly, you listened. And there's power in that. Real power. In a world where everything rushes to be louder, shinier, more urgent, you sat still and listened to the life of a girl who was none of those things. A girl who lived quietly, who loved clumsily, who slept hard and worked harder, who mattered, not because she stood out, but because she kept standing. That's what stories like hers do. They soften you, not into weakness, but into awareness. Awareness that even now, in this age of urgency, we are all still human. We are still hungry for connection, still aching for silence, still longing for something to remind us that survival is sacred, even if it doesn't look impressive. Especially then. Matilda didn't survive to be remembered, but she is, because you remembered her right now, and that might be enough. You see, sleep isn't just a biological act, it's a surrender. It's a ceremony. And this slow unfurling of story into stillness is a kind of ritual. The fire, the breath, the quiet unraveling of noise, it all becomes something holy. Not in the religious sense, but in the human sense. Holy like a held hand. Holy like silence that understands you. Holy like the moment right before sleep when your body says, yes, this is what I needed. And if your eyes are closed now, good. Let them stay that way. You don't need to look anymore. Not at the screen, not at the clock, not at your worries. None of them are invited here. This space belongs to what's left after worry, what's left after striving, what's left after you've listened long enough to remember what stillness feels like. That stillness is the echo of Matilda's world, not its hardships, not its darkness, but its rhythm. The rhythm of waking and sleeping, of losing and finding, of enduring without praise, and loving without reward. That rhythm is old, older than any empire, older than any invention. It beats in the walls of your chest. It hums in your bones. It says you don't need to earn rest. You don't need to finish the race. You only need to be here, breathing, listening, letting go. And you are, right now. Even if you don't feel it fully, even if some part of you is still tangled in thought, even if this piece feels unfamiliar or fragile or fleeting, that's okay. Stillness is patient. It doesn't ask you to rush. It waits, like Matilda waited for sleep, like sleep waits for you. So as we draw this final curtain, there is no need for a lesson, no need for one last piece of advice or poetic turn. The story is done. The fire is out. The night has folded you into its arms, and that is enough. You are safe here. You are allowed here. You belong to this moment like the stars belong to the sky, silent, steady, unbothered by whether or not they're seen. So sleep, not because you're told. Not because the story said so, but because your body has asked quietly for a long time. And now, finally, you've said yes. Yes to rest, yes to warmth, yes to letting someone else, just for tonight, carry the weight of the story. The world can wait. The noise will return. But tonight you are flame, then ember, then hush, then sleep. And yet, you're still here, still suspended in that rare space after a story ends but before reality begins again. Not asleep, not fully awake, just hovering, gently, like a leaf caught in twilight air. No destination, no demand, just being. This is the secret layer, the part no one writes about. The part after the finale, when the noise has faded and all that remains is what it changed in you. Because whether you realize it or not, you've changed. Not in a dramatic way. Not in the way movies suggest, but quietly, like a river smoothing stone, like wind shifting dunes, like time teaching you how to breathe again. You came to this story for something. Maybe it was sleep. Maybe it was silence. Maybe it was to feel less alone in a world that asks too much, too fast, too often. And now you've gotten something else, something quieter, something deeper. You've been reminded that rest is not a weakness. It's a right, a ritual, a rebellion against a culture that never pauses, never reflects, never forgives. Matilda forgave herself every night for not doing more, for not being more, for not having more. She forgave the world for being hard and herself for being tired. And then she slept. She gave her body to the dark without fear, without guilt, without apology. And you're learning to do the same. That's what this moment is. Not just an ending, but a continuation. A passing of rhythm from one life into another. Her world is gone, but the cadence remains. Inhale, exhale, stillness. That's the music she lived by, and you're hearing it now. Not with your ears, but with your chest, your spine, the weight behind your eyes, that soft drumbeat of breath that says, I'm allowed to rest. Say it again, in your mind or out loud if the silence will keep it. I'm allowed to rest. That sentence alone could undo generations of guilt. Because what are we if not exhausted? Exhausted from holding it all together. From pretending, from pushing. From pretending, pushing is normal. But Matilda never pushed for more than the fire needed. She never chased a brand or balanced a dozen digital plates in the air. She balanced bread and babies and bitter winters. And when it became too much, she stopped. And now you have too. Even if only for tonight. Even if just for these 1,000 words. Even if just until your brain remembers that sleep doesn't have to be earned. You have stopped. And in that stillness, there is power. Real power. The kind that doesn't perform. That doesn't market itself. The kind that simply is. So here in this final echo, let's not try to summarize. Let's not wrap the story in a neat bow. Because life was never neat for Matilda. And maybe it isn't for you either. That's okay. We don't need perfect stories, we need true ones. We need stories that remind us we're not broken if we're tired, that love can exist without poetry, that meaning can grow in dirt, and healing can happen in the arms of an unfinished life. Matilda's life was unfinished. So is yours. So let that be the point. Let the story keep you soft, keep you quiet, keep you grounded. Even after the voice fades, even after the screen goes dark, let it live in your breath, in your sleep, in your choice tomorrow morning to pause for 1 second longer before rushing into the day. Maybe you'll remember none of this. That's okay. The story doesn't need your memory. It just needed your presence. And it had it. You gave it, fully, honestly, softly, and now it gives something back. Not information, not inspiration, but peace. So here, truly, we end. Not with a bang, not even with a whisper, but with a breath shared across time. Matilda's to yours. The flame passed, the hush kept. The story closed, and you are safe, still, enough. Sleep now, not because the story told you to, but because something inside you remembered how. Somewhere far from here, the sun is beginning to rise. Not loudly, not in fireworks, just slowly, like a secret being told in light. The kind of rise that doesn't demand attention, but quietly changes everything. And though you're not awake, not yet, you feel it. The world stirring, time resuming, the weight of night beginning to lift, molecule by molecule, as if it too understands it's time to give way. But not completely, not yet. Because before the day rushes in, before your mind rebuilds its walls, there is this, a final breath, a sacred pause, a whisper from the dark that says, remember what it felt like to rest. You've walked through a story that never asked to be heard. You've listened to a life built not of milestones, but moments. You've kept company with the quiet, and now the quiet is keeping company with you. Matilda's world has long gone silent, her fire long ash, her hands long still. But what she carried, what she was, still breathes in the space you've made. This is what stories do when you don't just read them, when you live in them, even for a moment. They live back, they echo. And that echo now is your rhythm. This isn't an ending, it's a remembering. That life doesn't always need fixing, that sleep doesn't need optimizing, that sometimes the most revolutionary act is doing nothing at all. Matilda did nothing most nights, just laid down and let the dark be what it was. She didn't fight it. She didn't frame it. She simply folded herself into it, like a letter the world had already read too many times. And now, you're learning to do the same. Because now you know. Stillness isn't absence. It's presence. It's the full weight of your body on a bed that forgives. It's the breath you didn't have to earn. It's the hush between thoughts, where healing lives. You might not remember any of this tomorrow. Not the words, not the names, not the scene with the goat or the echo of fire on the walls, but your body will remember. It always does. It remembers the moment you stopped pretending to be more awake than you were. The moment you gave yourself over, not to dreams, but to release. And that memory, deep in muscle and breath, will carry you through. It will whisper in the cracks of your day. It will soften your shoulders during chaos. It will remind you gently, you've already rested once, you can do it again. Because sleep, like story, is not a one-time thing. It's a cycle, a ceremony, a choice to return to yourself, to your breath, to the simplest truth you forgot somewhere between scrolling and striving. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to stop, even when no one else does, even when the world calls it lazy, even when your to-do list sneers. You've earned the hush, the pause, the letting go, not through effort, but through existence. Matilda never needed anyone to validate her rest, and neither do you. This moment, now closing its arms around you, is not performance. It is presence. And as the edges of the world begin to glow again, as the birds somewhere else begin to test their songs, as the morning builds itself quietly, brick by brick, there's no need to move, not yet. You can stay right here, between everything and nothing, between sleep and story, between the fire and the light. This is your interlude, your in-between. The world can wait one more breath, it always can. So don't open your eyes yet, don't reach for the noise, just rest in the ripple of what this story left behind. A gentler you, a stiller you, a version of yourself that remembers how to rest without asking for permission. That version is real, that version is whole, that version is here, breathing, soft, brave in stillness. You don't have to do anything else now. You've done it, you stayed, you breathed, you remembered. And for tonight, for this final hush before morning, that is everything. that is enough. This is it, the last page. Not torn out, not sealed, just resting here, open, honest, waiting for nothing. You've come so far, not in distance, but in stillness. Not in movement, but in the courage it takes to pause, to be still, to sit beside a stranger from centuries past and let her story soften your own. Matilda is long asleep now. She has drifted into the kind of rest that has no beginning or end. Her fire is cold, but her warmth remains somehow. It lingers, doesn't it? Like the scent of rain on wood, like the echo of a lullaby you've never quite forgotten. And now, here you are, still wrapped in that echo, still listening, even if only with your breath. This isn't just the end of her story, it's the return to yours, but something is different now. Not dramatic, not visible, but deep. Like dust shifted underfoot, like breath drawn just a little slower, like a soul remembering it doesn't have to sprint. You've sat with silence, and silence in return has sat with you. That's what we forget in this world of blinking lights and loud opinions. Silence is not absence, it's presence without pressure. And tonight, you allowed it in. You didn't skip ahead. You didn't rush the rhythm. You let the quiet speak. And because of that, you heard something rare. Not a voice, not a revelation, but a remembering of your body, of your breath, of what it feels like to belong to a moment that asks for nothing. That's the gift of stories like Matilda's. They don't dazzle, they don't demand, they just offer a hand and walk with you through the dark. And when they're gone, you're left with something surprisingly solid. Peace. Not the kind you post about, not the kind you schedule, the kind that simply is. The kind that lives in the breath after a long day, in the silence after a full sentence, in the feeling of being exactly where you are and knowing that for now, it's enough. So if your eyes are still closed, let them stay. If your thoughts begin to wander, let them drift. You don't need to catch them. You don't need to chase morning yet. It's coming. You can feel it. A faint glow behind the horizon of your mind. But don't rush to meet it. It will find you. And when it does, you'll rise. Not because you have to, but because you're ready. Ready to carry a new kind of tiredness. Not exhaustion, but sacred weariness. The kind that says, I gave my attention to something true. I allowed myself to stop. And that in this world is no small thing. That is resistance. That is revolution. That is rest. So as this chapter closes, let it do so gently, not with an alarm, not with a call to action, but with a final breath that says you made it. Not to the end of a journey, but to the edge of yourself, to the place where story meets stillness, where fiction becomes feeling, where breath becomes belief, and belief becomes rest. The world outside your walls will resume. It always does. But this moment, it's yours. Sacred. Silent. Soft as straw beneath a tired spine. Soft as wool wrapped around cold feet. Soft as the smile Matilda might have worn just before sleep took her. You're allowed to stay here. For one more breath. For one more heartbeat. For as long as you need. There's no one rushing you. No one's scoring this. This is not performance. This is presence. And you've done it beautifully. So now, let the story dissolve. Let the voice fade. Let your breath carry you the rest of the way. You are safe. You are still. You are not alone, and you can sleep now. Truly, deeply, finally. And just when you thought it was over, it isn't. Because stories like this don't end on page 20. They spiral. They echo. They circle back. Not to tell you more, but to remind you what you've already heard. This is not a new beginning. It's a slow return to the same breath, to the same silence, but with softer shoulders this time, because something has shifted. You've walked the full length of stillness now, not just visited, but stayed. And in that staying, something ancient unfurled, something most people rush past. You lingered, you allowed the hush, and now you carry it differently, not in your hands, but in the space behind your eyes. That dim hallway of the mind where tired thoughts go to rest. That's where Matilda lives now, not as a character, not even as a memory, but as rhythm, a slower one. The kind that doesn't apologize for being late, the kind that doesn't run unless it's raining. The kind that understands that breathing is enough. You know that now. You've learned it in real time, through your skin, through the pauses between words, not from a lecture, not from a quote on a wall, but from being here, from listening, still, open, unrushed. And that's the miracle, isn't it? That in a world screaming at you to go, you chose to stay. That you sat still with someone long gone and somehow felt closer to yourself than ever. How strange, how sacred, how true. There's no moral here, no final twist, just breath. and the soft truth it carries. You are not meant to be perfect. You are meant to be present, just like Matilda was, stirring coals, folding blankets, blinking slowly at the moon through a crooked window. She didn't need wisdom to be worthy. She didn't need peace to deserve rest, and neither do you. So if your thoughts are still trying to sprint, it's okay. Let them. But know this, your stillness wins. Every time. Because stillness isn't a lack of motion. It's the choosing of what matters. And tonight, you chose quiet. You chose a story that had no heroes, no villains, no plot twist, only breath and bone and bread and sleep. And in that choosing, you remembered something beautiful, that rest isn't earned by exhaustion. It's granted by existence. You're here. That's enough. You stayed. That's enough. You listened. Even if part of you drifted in and out, even if your mind wandered, that's still listening. That's still presence. That's still something sacred in a world of distractions. So now, as the world outside slowly starts to remember the sun, let you be the one who forgets it. Just for one more moment. Forget the morning. Forget the momentum. Forget the messages waiting on your screen. They'll wait. They always do. But this feeling, this rare softness, it won't. It's fleeting. It's fragile. It's holy. So stay just a little longer. Let the story hold you like a warm bowl cradled in cold hands. Let the silence nest in your bones. Let the hush grow roots. You've traveled far without moving. You've felt deeply without drama. You've rested, not because the world slowed down, but because you did. And that is worth remembering, not with notes, not with journals, but with breath. Just breath. In, out. Still here. Still whole. Still home. There is no next chapter after this, only the one you write with your body tomorrow. The one where you wake slowly, where you stretch without apology, where you move through the world with the weightless knowing that you are already enough, already grounded, already allowed to pause whenever you need to. That is your inheritance now. Not a legacy of achievement, but of stillness. A reminder passed down through silence and story that says, you are allowed to be, even when you do nothing, especially then. So now, let the voice go. Let the screen dim. Let this final breath carry you to sleep. Matilda is still. You are still. The story is still. And stillness? Stillness is eternal. Strange, isn't it? How something can end and yet not end. That's what this is. Not a sequel, not a return, but the breath that comes after goodbye, the one that hangs there silent and full as if waiting for nothing and everything at once. You're still here. Not because you have to be, but because part of you doesn't want to move just yet. That's okay. Stay. Stay in this stillness. Stay in this hush. Stay with Matilda, not in her time, but in her truth. Because she wasn't the point. You were. You always were. She was just the rhythm, the vessel, the spark that lit your awareness. But now the flame is in your hands. You've carried it all this way, through every word, every pause, every breath, and now it flickers softly inside your chest. No pressure. No duty. Just warmth. The warmth of remembering that rest is a right, not a reward. That silence isn't empty, it's alive. And that sleep isn't an escape, it's a return. So what now? Now you simply be. No story, no arc. Just presence. And in that presence, something more honest than plot unfolds. The truth of what it means to be here. Breathing. Waiting for nothing. Held by nothing. Freed from everything. You see, this story never promised resolution. It wasn't designed to wrap up neatly. Because real rest isn't tidy. It's raw. It's uneven. It comes in waves like tides pulled by moons you can't see. And tonight, you've let yourself be pulled. Gently. Willingly. Into the current of stillness. And that's sacred. Not in a grand cathedral kind of way, but in a soft wool blanket on a cold floor kind of way. Matilda knew that kind of sacred. She lived in it. She bowed her head to it night after night, not because she had answers, but because she had trust. Trust that the dark would hold her, that the world could wait, that the bread would rise again tomorrow. You can have that trust too, even now, especially now, because what else do we have, really? Underneath the noise, underneath the striving, underneath the questions, we have this moment, this breath, this heartbeat, slow and steady, asking for nothing but permission to keep going. And you've given it, you gave it. You said yes, not to doing, but to being. To lying still, to listening deeply, to falling asleep not out of exhaustion, but out of choice. That's rare, that's beautiful, that's enough. So now, truly, you can go. Not away, but into yourself, into rest. Into the kind of sleep that comes not from fatigue, but from surrender. That kind of sleep doesn't just heal the body, it remembers the soul. It reminds you that you are not a machine, you are not a project, you are not a list of things unfinished, you are a person, a whole one. Flawed, tired, brave, breathing, and still here, even in stillness, especially in stillness. You don't need to do anything more tonight. You've done it all, you've stayed, you've softened. You've let the story echo through your bones and settle in the spaces that needed it most. That is more than enough. That is everything. So go, let the last thread unravel, let the final word dissolve. Let yourself become part of the quiet that holds you, the quiet that understands, the quiet that doesn't ask for anything but somehow gives you everything. This is not an end, it's a breath held long enough to be noticed. And now, exhaled, soft, slow, full of life. Good night again and always. There's a sound that comes only after silence, not noise, not interruption, but something more subtle, like wind moving through tall grass or the creak of old floorboards beneath a sleeping house. That's where we are now, in that sound, in that space. The moment when nothing is left to say and yet something still speaks. It's not Matilda anymore. She's gone. Not lost, just fully at peace now, fully asleep. Her story's complete, not because everything resolved, but because it never needed to. She lived, she breathed, she rested. That was enough, and so are you. Still here, still breathing, still resting. There's no next chapter, no grand reveal, just the continuation of a feeling. The ripple effect of staying soft when the world asks for steel. You've done that. You've arrived here with nothing in your hands but presence. No defense, no armor, just breath and maybe a little bit of wonder. That's rare, and it matters. It matters more than you think, because in a time when everyone is running, you let yourself slow down. In a world that screams for productivity, you chose stillness. And in a culture built on more, you embraced enough. That is not small. That is revolutionary. Matilda didn't change the world. She didn't conquer or create. She simply existed, fully. And tonight, so did you, so do you. Existing not for anyone's validation, not for applause, not even for the story, but for yourself, for your own breath. For the quiet voice inside you that has been whispering all along, this is what you've been needing. This exact moment, this gentle closing, this final falling. You can feel it now, can't you? The way the story dissolved, not like a firework, but like sugar on the tongue. No flash, no spectacle, just softness, just release. This isn't just the end of a tale. It's the start of your own rhythm, not the kind found in calendars and clocks, but the kind measured in heartbeats, in hushes, in the space between one breath and the next. That's where your life is. Not in the rush, not in the noise, but here, quiet, steady, unfolding slowly like sunlight warming frost. You don't need to rush back into the world. You don't need to shake the stillness off like sleep from your eyes. Let it stay. Let it live in your limbs. Let it color your morning. Let it shape your footsteps tomorrow, softer than before. Because softness isn't weakness. Softness is strength without the need to shout. It's knowing you can listen, and in listening, live more fully. That's the gift you've received tonight. Not just a story, not just sleep, but a remembering of who you are beneath the layers, of what you are when everything else falls away. Just this, just now, just breath. And the thing is, you didn't have to earn any of it. Not with effort, not with perfection, just by being. That's it. That's always been it. Matilda's story reminded you. Now your story continues it, not loudly, not urgently, but truthfully. With every slow step you take into tomorrow. You may never speak her name again. You may forget the details, the goat, the cold, the flickering fire, but you'll remember this peace, this pause, this sacred quiet that chose you as much as you chose it. So sleep now, not just as a function, but as a ritual, a rite, a return to yourself, to your body, to the breath that knows its way even when you don't, to the hush that holds you when words no longer can. Let go. Fully. No hesitation. No fear. You're not falling, you're floating, cradled not by story anymore, but by the space it made. A space where you can exist without effort, where nothing is asked, where everything is enough. This is your home. This is your rhythm. This is your ending and your beginning. Good night. Truly, completely, eternally. Still here? Good. Because some things are worth lingering for. This is one of them. The breath after the final breath. The silence beneath the silence, the place where even stories go to rest. You didn't need to stay, but you did. And in that choice, something opened. Not loudly, not obviously, just a little, like a door you didn't realize had been locked, like a part of you long forgotten stretching itself awake. That's the magic of what just happened. Not because it changed the world, but because it changed your rhythm. You slowed, you softened, you allowed yourself to exist without expectation. And that's no small thing, because the world doesn't ask you to pause, it pushes, it pokes, it pulls. But tonight, you didn't answer. You let the pull pass you by. You let the noise knock, but not enter. You sat still, and you let stillness speak. That's rare, that's sacred, and it matters, because stillness is not passive. Stillness is presence. It's the deepest kind of listening. It's the moment when the outer world fades and the inner one is heard, clearly, finally, honestly. You heard it tonight, even if you didn't understand every word, even if your mind wandered, you still heard it because you stayed, you breathed, you were here. Matilda's story gave you a reason, but your breath is what brought you back, over and over. In, out, not just air, but permission to rest, to release, to return to a place inside you that doesn't need to be fixed or finished, just felt, just held. That's what you've done. You've held space for yourself, not as a task, but as a truth. And now the truth has rooted, softly, deeply, the kind of root you won't notice tomorrow or even next week, but the kind that steadies you without asking. That's what Matilda gave you. Not advice, not answers, but rhythm. A reminder that your body knows how to rest, even when your mind forgets. That your breath knows the way home, even when you feel lost. That the world will keep spinning, even when you step off the wheel. And tonight, you did. You stepped off. You slowed down. You let yourself be nothing but human. No filters, no expectations, just a being, in bed, breathing. That's all, that's everything. So now, truly now, the story is over. Not in sadness, not in silence, but in fullness, in peace, in the rarest kind of quiet, the kind that doesn't need words anymore. You've arrived. You're here. And nothing else is required. The fire's long out, the sky has turned, the rhythm of the world is whispering again, soft as snow on moss. You can follow it or not. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you know this place now, this space inside the hush, this corner of the night where no one asks you to be more than you are. You can return to it anytime, even without Matilda, even without a voice, even without a story. Because the story was never outside you, it was always in your breath, in your willingness, in your quiet yes to rest. Let that be what you carry, not the plot, not the characters, just the feeling of being allowed to stop, of being told gently, you're allowed. So sleep now, not as a closing act, but as a continuation of everything sacred you've touched in this silence, everything human you've remembered in this hush. This is your final breath with the story. Let it hold you, let it bless you, let it carry you all the way in. No more narration, no more need, just rest, and the life waiting gently on the other side of it. You're still here, not by accident, not out of habit, but because something in you knew the story wasn't finished, not quite. Even now, as the hush grows heavier, as the night deepens past words, you remain breathing, listening, lingering in the quiet that came after everything else. This is the part few people reach, the real ending. The part of the story that doesn't say goodbye because it doesn't need to. It just opens its hands and lets go, like breath, like fog, like a prayer you never say out loud but still feel in your chest. Matilda's fire is cold now, her story woven softly into the folds of time. But she wasn't the point. She never was. She was the doorway. You were the destination. Every whispered page led you back to yourself. And now, here you are. No spotlights, just breath. Still and slow, still enough to hear the heartbeat behind it all, the rhythm beneath the story, the real reason you stayed. You didn't come here for Matilda. You came for rest, for rhythm, for a reminder that it's okay to stop, that it's okay to want quiet, that it's okay to need nothing but warmth, breath, and the sacred permission to simply be. And now you have it. It's yours. It's always been yours. But tonight, you accepted it. That's the difference. That's what matters. You accepted the hush. You let it in. You didn't fill the silence. You became it. And in doing so, you became more yourself than you've been in days, maybe longer. Because here in the final breath of this story, there is no effort, no mask, no narrative, just you, raw, real, resting. Not because you collapsed, but because you chose to stop. That is power, the kind we don't talk about enough, the kind that lives in softness, the kind that lives in stillness, the kind that whispers, this too is sacred. And it is. This is sacred. You, lying there, breathing like it's the first honest breath in years, that's sacred. You, not needing to explain yourself to the dark, that's sacred. You with nothing left to prove and everything left to feel, that's sacred. So sleep now, not because the story said so, not because the voice is fading, but because the silence has given you permission, and you've given it back. That's the exchange. That's the gift. A story wrapped in breath. A listener wrapped in peace. No more pages. No more plot. Just the slow turning of the world and the stillness you now carry inside you like fireflies in a jar, small lights glowing softly, endlessly, waiting to guide you back whenever you forget. You will forget. That's okay. That's human. The world will get loud again, the lists will pile up, the speed will return, but now you know where to go when it does. Back here, back to stillness, back to story, back to yourself. Because you didn't just listen tonight, you remembered how to rest, how to breathe, how to let something be unfinished and still beautiful, like life, like you. So if your eyes are still open, let them drift, let the edges blur, let the quiet take over, not to erase you, but to hold you, gently, completely, with no agenda, with no expectation, just the soft, steady beat of being. That's all you need. That's all you've ever needed. And it's enough. It's always been enough. So go now, not away, just deeper, deeper into the hush, deeper into yourself, deeper into the knowing that this moment, this breath is not a stop. It's a return to rhythm, to rest, to the place within you that never needed to be more. Just here, just now, just alive, just good night, always. And if you're still here in the hush after all endings, then maybe, just maybe, you understand what this was never really about. It wasn't about the characters, or the fire, or the goats. It was about breath and trust. The kind of trust that says, you can let go now. Because you did. You let go of the noise. You released the urgency. You allowed yourself, if only for these fleeting minutes, to be nothing but here. There is such power in that, power not measured in volume or strength or accomplishment, but in surrender, in the sacred act of allowing yourself to be still. You see, this isn't the kind of ending that fades. It lingers, in the chest, in the bones, in the spaces between your thoughts, because what you touched here wasn't just a bedtime story. It was a return to rhythm, to calm, to that ancient part of you that knows how to rest without permission. And if it feels unfamiliar now, that's okay. New peace always feels strange at first. Like putting on an old sweater you forgot you loved. But soon it fits. Soon it breathes with you. Soon it becomes not just something you heard, but something you are. Matilda's stillness, once a distant echo, now lives inside you. You carry her rhythm. You carry her quiet. You carry the hush that made room for her, and now makes room for you. There's no need to rush out of this. No one's waiting. Nothing's on fire. Let the world wait. Let the sun stay behind the horizon a little longer. You are allowed this moment, not because you earned it, but because you remembered you deserve it. The world forgets to tell you that. It tells you to hustle, to grind, to keep up. But here in this silence, you've rewritten the rules. You've whispered a different truth. I am enough. Say it again, in your breath, if not your voice. I am enough. That's not a slogan, it's a memory, one your body has been carrying forever. And now, finally, it has space to speak, to breathe, to be. So let it at every part of you that has been gripping tightly loosen. Let the parts of you that whisper more fall quiet. You don't need more. Not now, not tonight. You need this space, this peace, this gentle breath in and breath out. There are no more lessons, no more metaphors, no more moments to analyze. Just this one. You in the dark, still, safe. You have always deserved this kind of softness. This kind of ending, one that doesn't push you away but folds you in. One that doesn't conclude but continues, quietly, kindly, truthfully. Matilda's story is over, but yours has just remembered how to slow down. And when you wake, if you wake, you'll carry that with you, not as a burden, not as a task, but as an ease in your step, a softness behind your eyes, a peace that doesn't need to be spoken to, be felt. That's the legacy of this hush. That's the miracle of being here now. Even if your mind drifted, even if your eyes fluttered open and shut, even if your thoughts wandered, you stayed. You stayed long enough to remember that not every moment needs to be filled. Some are meant to be felt, fully, deeply, gently. So feel this, not like a punchline, not like a closing door, but like a familiar room, the one inside you that's always been quiet, always been ready, always been waiting. Welcome back. Stay a while longer. No one will mind. No one will interrupt. This is the softest kind of goodbye, the one that never really leaves, because now this hush, it's part of you, and you are part of it, forever. There's a moment just after the silence settles and just before the world wakes, when everything pauses. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's barely even noticeable, but it's real. It's a breath without reason, a stillness without explanation, a space where nothing is expected and everything is allowed. That's where you are now, still here, still held, still wrapped in the softness that has followed you from Matilda's final firelight into the deep, endless quiet of your own breath. And here's the beautiful truth. You didn't miss it. You didn't rush past it. You didn't fill it with something just to say you did. You stayed. And because you stayed, something changed. Not the world outside. It's still spinning, still shouting, still full of clocks and traffic and blinking lights. But you are not the same. Even if nothing looks different, even if no one else knows what just happened, you know. Your body knows. Your breath knows. You found stillness and you stayed long enough to become it. That matters, because no one gives out awards for resting. No one claps when you say no or lie down or choose quiet over chaos. But stillness, it saves. Not loudly, not quickly, but surely, softly, exactly the way it found you tonight. You didn't need more noise. You needed less. You needed softness that didn't collapse into silence, but became it, aware, steady. And that's what the story gave you. Not a new plot, not a character arc, but a rhythm, a return. A remembering of something that was never gone, just buried beneath all the doing. And now, the doing has stopped. For a moment, for a breath. For long enough to remember that you are not made of tasks. You are not a to-do list. You are not a project to be completed. You are breath. You are warmth. You are life in its softest, slowest form. And that's not less than. That's everything. So what happens now? Nothing. Everything. Whatever you need, there's no next line, no call to action, no push. You don't need to rise and grind. You don't need to turn this into a lesson or a lifestyle. You don't need to do anything, because the power of this moment lies in what it isn't. It isn't asking. It isn't rushing. It isn't pulling. It's just being. And so are you. Still, whole, wrapped in the hush that doesn't speak in words, but in warmth, in weightlessness, in knowing. Matilda's gone. Yes, her story told, her breath stilled, her fire cold. But what she stood for, that quiet dignity, that daily grace, that brave, exhausted surrender to rest, remains. And now it remains in you. You are the fire now. You are the hush. You are the breath after. The rhythm she carried is now in your bones, in your steps, in your sleep. No one will see it, but they might feel it. In the way you pause, in the way you don't rush, in the way you say less but mean more. That's the story living on. That's the hush continuing. That's the miracle of staying still long enough to listen. And if tomorrow or the day after or months from now the world pulls too hard, remember this. Return to this. You don't have to press play again. You just have to breathe, to lie down, to let go, to find silence not as escape but as arrival. You've arrived. You're here. Still. Safe enough, not because of what you've done, but because of what you allowed. Stillness. Real, wordless, weightless stillness. You let it in, you let it grow, and now it grows with you wherever you go. So yes, this is still the story, even now, even here. It doesn't end, it just softens, and so do you. Good night again and again and again, as long as you need. Forever, if it helps. There's something remarkable about where you are now, not physically, not geographically, but inwardly. You're in that rare place beyond words, where everything feels full and light all at once. A space not built by story, but revealed by stillness. It's delicate, this moment, like mist before dawn. You can't hold it, you can't repeat it, you can only live in it while it lasts. And right now, it's lasting, because you're still here. Because you chose not to rush, not to rise, not to reason. You chose to stay. And in doing so, you crossed into something very few people ever touch. A kind of peace that doesn't have a soundtrack, a kind of hush that feels alive. You've been walking beside the story all this time, following its soft footprints, listening to the hush echoing after each sentence, letting the rhythm hold you. And now the story has stopped. The voice has slowed. The fire has faded. But your stillness remains. It breathes on its own now. It no longer needs narration. It has become yours. And in that stillness, new space opens, space to notice the weight leaving your chest, space to feel your jaw unclench, space to simply be. This isn't about Matilda anymore. This isn't even about rest. This is about recognition. You recognizing yourself again, not the hurried self, not the productive self, but the self that's always been underneath, the one who breathes without agenda, the one who exists without proving, the one who rests not as a break, but as a birthright. That's who you are in this moment. Unadorned, unapologetic, unmoved by urgency. And if it feels strange, it's because you've been trained to believe rest must be earned. It must come after the work, after the chores, after the inbox. But here now, there is no after. There's only this breath, this warmth, this permission. And it's not going anywhere. You carry it with you now. It's in your bones. It's in your breath. It's in the way your body melts into the bed, the way your heartbeat slows, not out of fatigue, but relief. You have returned, fully, gently, without anyone watching or clapping or needing anything from you. That is freedom. That is sanctuary. And it's been inside you all along. You didn't need a story to find it. You just needed a reason to remember. Matilda was that reason. But now you don't need her voice. You don't need her fire. You are the voice. You are the warmth. And that realization doesn't come like a thunderclap. It comes like this. Soft, steady, sure. Like the glow before sunrise, not trying to be seen, but quietly changing everything. So if you're still here, it's because you've touched something that words can't hold. A stillness that speaks louder than any tale. A silence that doesn't end, but continues inside you. Tomorrow, you'll move, you'll rise, you'll join the noise again, but now you know how to come back. Now you know where your rhythm lives. Not in hustle, not in achievement, but in the hush. And you can return to it anytime. Not by playing this story again, but by lying down, by breathing in and breathing out and saying, without needing to say it, I remember. Because you do. Your body does. It always has. This space is always open, always ready, always enough. And so are you. So sleep now, not because the story told you to, but because you've remembered how. Not as escape, but as return to softness, to peace, to presence. Good night still, good night whole, good night breath, good night you. You're still breathing, and not just because your body knows how, but because some part of you chose to. Even here, even now, stillness isn't silent anymore. It's full, it's awake, it's you. What began as a story has now become something else entirely. Something more intimate, more real. It's no longer about what happened, it's about what's happening right here, right now. Your body has let go. Your breath is no longer reaching. It's resting, no longer pushing, it's pausing. And that pause, it's doing more than any answer ever could, because the truth is you didn't come here for an ending. You came for something quieter, something softer, a permission slip written in hush, and now you've signed it, with breath, with stillness, with the slow yes of surrender. There is no final scene, no resolution, just presence. Just the echo of the story gently wrapping itself around you, not to finish, but to fold into the moment like a warm quilt drawn to the chin. You don't need to move, you don't need to think, you've crossed the threshold, and now you dwell here, in the quiet beyond the voice, in the stillness beyond the plot. This is what it means to be held, not by someone else, by yourself, by your own breath, by the calm that comes when nothing is required of you except to be alive. You are alive, you are enough. Let that be the only truth for now. You don't have to hold on to it, just rest inside it. Float in it like water. No more noise, no more need, just breathe. And the rhythm it brings, the rhythm you've reclaimed. You see, this whole journey, it wasn't about escape. It was about remembrance of how deep you are, of how soft you can be, of how much power lives in your permission to rest. And now you've given it to yourself, fully, completely, with no apology, with no regret. That is sacred. That is sleep before sleep. That is peace that doesn't announce itself but arrives anyway. Barefoot, slow, kind. So here you are, not waiting for something more, but resting in something true. And what's true is this: your breath is enough, your body is enough, your being, quiet, unrushed, unbusy, is enough. The world will resume, it always does. But you've found your rhythm. You've learned how to stop, not just physically, but deeply, with your spirit, with your soul, with your breath. And stopping, truly stopping, is the bravest thing a person can do in a world addicted to acceleration. You've done it. You're doing it. Still, now. And as the silence grows warmer, more familiar, you might notice there's nothing left to want, not in this moment. You're full, you're held, And you don't need to do anything but stay. Let the world rotate. Let the inbox wait. Let the morning take its time. You're not late. You're exactly where you need to be. Breathing, still, alive, with nothing to carry but this hush and the memory of how it feels to truly stop. That memory will stay. It always does, not loud, not demanding, but steady. A whisper beneath the noise, a slow heartbeat beneath the chaos, a compass made of breath. So go ahead, close your eyes if they're not already closed, or soften them even more. Let the lids grow heavy, let the breath stay slow. You are safe, you are full, you are not waiting, you have arrived, and there's nowhere else to go. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Because this breath, this moment, this hush is enough. And you are too. Good night, again, and again, and again, as many times as you need. And now, finally, beautifully, you've arrived. Not at the end, but at the still point, the one that doesn't move, even when everything else does, the center of the hush, the eye of your own storm. You've been walking slowly into silence for a while now, guided by breath, wrapped in story, held in rhythm. And here, in this softest of places, there's no more forward, no more narrative, just now, just here. And that is more than enough. This moment, it doesn't need to be explained. It doesn't even need to be understood. It only asks to be felt. And you're feeling it. You are. In the heaviness of your limbs, in the weightlessness of your breath, in the way your body melts into whatever's holding you. Bed, blanket, silence itself. You're not waiting anymore. You're not listening for what comes next. Because now you understand. This is it. This breath, this beat, this closing hush. Not a finale, a return to yourself, to stillness. To the part of you that never needed a story but welcomed one anyway. Matilda's fire has long gone out, her cottage silent, her days folded into dust. But something she carried lingers, in you. A rhythm, a reverence, a reminder that life is not just about motion, it's about pause, about the spaces between, about moments like this where there is nothing to be done except rest, where your breath becomes the whole story. And your stillness, that's the resolution, that's the point. Not to arrive somewhere, but to be, without needing to try, without needing to fix, without needing to prove. Just be. And as the story recedes like low tide, it leaves something behind. Not noise, not instruction, but peace. A residue of rhythm, a memory in your muscles that says you've been here before. And now you know how to come back. Not by retracing words, not by re-listening, but by remembering. The way you're remembering now. That you don't have to chase anything. You don't have to rise just yet. You can lie still, soft, safe enough. Let this be your lullaby, not in melody but in meaning, not in verse but in breath. Let this be the way your body says yes to the dark, yes to the hush, yes to the miracle of nothing needed from you. It's okay if you don't fall asleep. It's okay if you already did. There's no wrong way to be held. And you are being held by the quiet, by the stillness, by your own gentle surrender. That's the ending. That's the gift. Not something that happens to you, but something you choose. You chose to be here. You chose not to click away. You chose to stay through the soft, strange hush that most people never reach. That's rare. That's meaningful. That's worth something, even if no one else sees it. You feel it. You know it. This piece, it's yours now. It doesn't disappear when the story ends. It doesn't vanish when the voice fades. It lives inside you, in your breath, in your rhythm, in your right to rest. So close your eyes, let your thoughts untangle. Let the story become part of the air. Let your body be the quiet now. Because you've earned this hush, not with effort, but with surrender. Not with striving, but with stillness. And stillness, true stillness, asks for nothing but your presence. You're here. You stayed. You're home. So now, let the hush hold you completely. Let the final breath drift out. Let the silence take its rightful place, not as absence, but as answer. You've reached it. You're in it. There's nowhere left to go because you are already everything you needed to be. Breathing, present, alive, at peace. And that's the real story, the one that doesn't need telling, just feeling. Good night for the last time, but not the final time. Because this hush, it's forever, and so is your right to return to it. Whenever you need, wherever you are. Close your eyes, breathe in, breathe out. Let go. If you've made it this far, thank you, truly. Not just for listening, but for staying, for allowing yourself to pause, to breathe, to be held in this hush we created together. If something in tonight's journey moved you, even just a little, I'd love to hear it. Drop a comment below. Tell me where you're listening from, how you felt, what stayed with you. This space isn't just for stories, it's for connection. And if this quiet moment felt like home to you, like a breath you didn't know you needed, consider subscribing. There's more to come, more stories that aren't just told but felt, stories that help you rest, remember, and return to yourself. Every subscription, every share, every whisper of support helps me create more of this gentle refuge in the noisy world. So, thank you. Until next time, wherever you are, whoever you are, I hope sleep finds you kind and dreams arrive softly. This has been your moment of stillness. I'll see you in the next story. Good night and good rest. Always.